if you're somebody like me that loves country rap, because you got a country side of you and you got a rap side of you, and you're a fan of Ryan Upchurch and Adam Calhoun, and you wouldn't have known about Adam Calhoun if it wasn't for Ryan Upchurch, I have a story for you about an encounter I had with Adam Calhoun. You know what? I got stories for you because I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of these guys in this category, and I'm gonna tell you how it went. So this was, hold on, April 17th, 2021. I ended up going to one of Adam Calhoun's concerts in Southeast Florida. Coincidentally, I was in town. It was about an hour away from where I was, and I had been working hard, so I told myself, you know what, go play a little bit. And as per usual, I'm by myself. I ended up getting a camera, and so I was fiddling with that camera, recording the show, and whatnot. And before you know it, one of the guys that work with him approached me asking if I wanted a beer, and me and him started talking like single people do. And he periodically came and checked on me, brought me a beer, whatever. So before you know it, I'm recording the meet and greet too, and then before you know it, I'm inside of his bus. But one of the first things that this man said to me when I met him, it was, "What? What are you, gay?" I kid you not. I went to go meet this man, in front of his bus, and that was what I was met with. Not only did I just spend money to support him and come see him live, I drove an hour, and if you really want to get down to it and talk about my own personal life, my ex-fiance at the time was a female. Not only did I leave my job at UPS, good old union job, sold the house, bought a motorhome, my whole entire life flipped upside down, and I was fighting my own demons. Not only was I going through all that, plus, COVID and politics and that ruining families, because besides the point at the moment, you get the gist of what I'm saying. That was what I was met with. And I just didn't really know what to say. Just kind of like, did he really just say that to me? Now at the time, my hair was the shortest it's ever been in my adulthood because old Dodo Brain decided to cut her hair herself and do the whole ponytail trick and ended up with bangs. So that was a mess within itself. So before you know it, Cutie Patootie and Adam ended up in my car because we're going to go to the strip club. They were figuring out the car situation with the other people because of whatever was going on. And so we went ahead and went. Now, I'm going to cover Cutie Patootie's face. But see, my hair was short. I had some bangs going on. People with my type of hair, it's hard to pull off bangs. And this was in 2021. And I didn't really have much in my stomach before I started having those beers. So I saw Taco Bell open. And I went to go pull into Taco Bell. And he got, I wouldn't say snappy, but I'd say snippy, if that makes a difference. Oh, what, the club is closing soon, and da-da-da-da-da, like that. So I just kept on trucking and made a circle and went right back onto the main road, and continued on. And then we get there, and lo and behold, he knew the bartender. So that was making sense for me. But an hour or something goes by and I end up leaving. Because why? I'm starting not to feel too good with beer on an empty stomach. I didn't have much in my stomach, so I wouldn't say it was empty, but it was empty enough to where I was feeling the beer. So I go to leave, and before you know it, I'm pulled over, and I did do what I needed to do, and I felt a lot better after and continued on home because it was an hour drive home. Lo and behold, which I already knew this was going to happen, depending how much money he was going to, the club stayed, open for him, after hours. His buddies that he was with, a lot of them never been to a strip club before. So this was their first time at a strip club, a gentleman's club. Me, I was working at a gentleman's club as a cocktail waitress before I can even legally drink alcohol. So, I went to work and saw that. So it was nothing new to me. My entertainment was watching them for the first time in this scene. This scenery. But I couldn't hang because I couldn't get my Taco Bell. So take that as you may. But the next encounter I had was in West Tennessee. I believe it was Dyersburg exactly. It was like with the Lax, Demon Jones, and I think there was another guy, but I don't know. It was September 18th, 2021. So April, May, June, July, August, September. 5 months after I had that encounter, here I was backstage, solo dolo again, at a small venue in the company of these folks. And this was a different completely encounter. Because prior to me showing this video or recording this video, me and Demon and one of his band guys was on the back couch sitting there just talking because the dude I was talking to told me to, hang out here. I'll be back. He was doing what he had to do. And it was a good conversation. It was about how did a South Florida chick end up in West Tennessee? Do you go hunting? You know what I mean? And some other stuff. It was kind of like just jumping subjects, but nothing sexual. Nothing towards that category. It was a very humble experience because of how genuine he seemed. Now, the story with the lax guy. Okay, so I got walked to my car and I went to go leave. Now, me and the lax, both of them, because it's two different guys, we didn't really conversate, It was more like, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you, whatever. Like, they were just shooting the crap with the boys. And I liked the one's vibe. So as I was leaving, I saw him out there and I was like, all right, if you're going to shoot your shot, this is your moment to shine. And so I stopped and I hollered at him. I said, hey, you, come here. He was just like, me? And I'm like, yeah, you, come here. And so he came to the passenger door. I'm in the driver's seat. And I was like, out of the numbers I got tonight, I want yours. He looked at me as in like, why? He was like, what did I do? Because I just came out of left field and threw him a curveball and he was just kind of like, why do you want my number? I barely even talked to you and I'm not sure if he, had been approached by many women before, but after it kind of like processed in his brain, he was just like, I'm married. And I looked at him, I said, good, stay loyal to your wife. I mean, mad respect. Mad respect. For a man after his show to get hit on and he's just worried about being a boy's boy, he's just hanging with the dudes. That's all he cared about. You can tell he was just enjoying it. He didn't care about looking for a chick or nothing like that. And shout out to his wife. You got you a good one, girl. Straight up, Miss Lax or ma'am lady. I don't know, but you got you a good one, and he deserves something good. But that's not the only encounter either. This is another encounter I had. Let me get to the video because I'll be able to give you the exact date. I ended up back in Florida. It's a video where you can see Adam on stage. There's Demon was there. Brodax was there. And this was July 1st, 2022. So this all happened just over a year. All these encounters. What was the first one? April 2021, and now we're in July, the beginning of July 2022. And once again, I was in Florida, and he was performing along with all these other artists that I was like, you know what? I'm going to go see, because it was Brodax, Demon, and Dusty Lee. So I said, you know what? You just were working hard on farm. I'm not no Beyonce chick. I don't care about no Taylor Swift. I don't even understand. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go, and I'm going to peep game. And I went solo dolo like normal. And before you know it, I got cameraman's camera in my hand while they're doing meet and greets. I mean, I'm talking to him. I mean, don't ask. I mean, just my personality, the way I maneuver, I ride solo. I ended up in having conversations with all different types of folks. I mean, you can put me anywhere, and it don't matter where you come from, your culture, nothing. It doesn't matter. I can conversate with anybody. And that's just how I roll. So I get put in these situations. And before you know it, I'm meeting Brodax. And he was more like, hey, how you doing? And he was just trying to hop around, do his thing, say what's up to people, thank you for coming. He was very considerate of his generosity towards his fans. Because every time I saw him and I was peeping him after he, performed or whatever, hey, how you doing? Hey, 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 hey. It was kind of how I maneuver in a way. And Demon was basically doing the same thing. He was just enjoying the atmosphere and, along with their merchandises and stuff like that. And then I ended up talking to Dusty Lee a little bit more than the other ones. And me and him exchanged numbers, and he was sweet the way he was trying to flirt. It was like a sweet, flirtatious thing. But I ended up out back with them. They had a little bit of drama going on after the show, and I ended up running into a guy I went to high school with, which I hadn't seen in like 8 years. So I said, yeah, I'm going to go hang out with him, and we went elsewhere. Now, I say all this to say, be careful the way you want to idolize folks. It's one thing to support their messages and this, that, and the third, but you don't necessarily know these folks. And I'm still kind of lost for words on that encounter I had. That I mean, the way those words came out of his mouth, I was just like, whoa. And I'm not one to normally be lost for words, kind of like taken back like that. And when we're living in a day and age in which we're living in, and some chick playing some banjo wants to win country whatever of the year, and somebody like Adam Calhoun, who a lot of us may have not even known of if it wasn't for Ryan Upchurch. If you want to be somebody that's into politics and all this, where's that diss track at? Because you know how dope it would be if all y'all got together and dissed her? Because when it comes to country culture, in which you're supposed to be representing, that was a slap in the face to a lot of us. Just because she fiddled on a banjo with her evilness. It's not the time to sit here and be fighting amongst each other. Because we don't live in a day and age of Slim Shady and turf wars and whatever you want to call it. We got bigger fish to fry instead of frying each other. And when it comes down to it, the one fiddling the banjo getting best country whatever, Ryan Upchurch should have already been won it. Ryan Upchurch should have already been won multiple genres. Because that's why so many of us connect to him. Because you can't just label him into one category. And nobody will ever be like him. And sitting here throwing all this shade at him when he's the one that basically busted open the door wide open for the folks that followed behind him and got a name for themselves as well. I don't think it's quite fair to the community that gave you guys a name. And if you're going to sit here and keep dissing Ryan Upchurch and the encounter and experience I had with you years ago, I just figured I'd shed some light on the situation. Because there's no musician out there that I've ever connected with like I connect with Ryan Upchurch. Why? Because to sum it all up, it's like the male version of him. Or the female, he's the male version of me, I'm the female version of him. I mean, I'm not saying literally, I'm just saying like to sum it up for you, because you can call me country, you can call me a ghetto white girl, you can call me a hippie, Rastafarian, whatever. I'm waiting for him to come out with some reggaeton. I mean, it doesn't surprise me the way he can just switch it up. And that's like my character. That's why I relate to him so much. I've never ever related to any musician the way I can relate to him. And what I've learned thus far at 32 years old, the folks that don't have to prove themselves are normally the ones that are quiet. Are normally the ones that don't have much to say. Because consciously they know something that we don't. Because their conscious is able to handle things a certain way. Because they know what's up. Because if he had some point to prove, he'd be trying to prove it. But he doesn't have a point to prove because his music, his numbers, his fan base, it all speaks for him. He doesn't need to speak. He doesn't need to explain himself because his work ethic, his music, how far he's come, and the name he's made for himself independently says enough for him. And it speaks volumes. He's never had to go out of his way to diss folks to try to have a one-up on them. If I had anything to say about Ryan Upchurch, it was the fact that he canceled his Mississippi Mud concert short notice. Around the same time I was telling you them stories. Somewhere in that time loop, I was supposed to go to Mississippi to go see him, and it was supposed to be like a mud event. But as time went on, you found out that he had legal issues going on. So what can I say? You know what I mean? If I had anything bad to say about him, but yet I've never met him. But you don't hear about people meeting him having a horrible experience or having a negative experience. And I'm not sitting here saying the environment that I went to with Adam Calhoun was negative. He brought his boys to the club for the first time. That's an experience. I'm not putting any shame on that. I worked at a strip club when I was 19, 20, 21, or 19 and 20. So if I have something negative to say about him when it comes to that, then I'm going to call myself out too. But that's not what I'm getting at. His character showed me a lot about him that night. And if you get anything from this, it's your own conclusion on what you see. Not what I think or anything like that. It's everything to do on your own conclusion, because I'm somebody like you that was just wanting to go support him because I liked his messaging. I liked what he had to say when it came to, calling out politicians and whatnot, So, we are one and the same, but I just so happen to have him in my passenger seat driving to a strip club, which it was an experience I'll never forget. But at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to I don't appreciate him addressing my own sexuality within the first minute of meeting him. When at that time I had my own demons I was going through, and I just broke my ex-fiance's heart. And that was the best person, the most beautiful heart, soul I've ever encountered in my lifetime thus far. So, you should never judge a book by its cover, because you never know what that person's going through. I'm not the same person I was, and I don't see through the same lenses that I saw years ago in April of 2021. And I've just sat on these stories for so long. Just, it's so interesting to me, and it's kind of, yeah, that did happen. But now, all these years later, here he is throwing shame at Ryan Upchurch. Meanwhile, some of his favorite songs of mine are with Ryan. And the only way I knew of him was because of Ryan. So, in today's world, a community in which we've all built around these folks is not something we need. We don't need I don't know. Take that as you may. Take that as you wish, but from somebody that is in the same shoes you're in, I figured I'd share the story because I just still don't know what to think about it.